Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
Yes! I feel like I've been waiting for this my entire life.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jolly good fun. Jolly good.
Locking down the middle of the day.
America's favorite daytime fun show.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour number 2, Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, presented by Gulf Coast Office Products. My pick for Saints at Chiefs coming up in the next segment. Denton Day talking college football from a national perspective at 2:30. Also, the Washington Commanders continue to roll. That's Denton's squad. We'll talk about Jaden Daniels' start as they are among the best teams in the NFC, it feels like at this point. So we'll talk to Denton coming up 30 minutes from right now. Brian Kelly back at it with the normal media sessions this week. Did have his Monday press availability. We'll have his Thursday as well as we get ready for LSU and Ole Miss from inside Tiger Stadium coming up on Saturday night. And Brian Kelly said that LSU's got a great opportunity coming up on Saturday.
A great challenge for us. We're excited about it. We know where we're at in terms of the next 7 weeks. We have SEC opponents. Our team is, again, excited about the challenge of playing at home in Tiger Stadium and looking forward to a Saturday night in Tiger Stadium on national television. That's why you come to LSU, and we're excited about the matchup. A great challenge for us.
Look, I'm a little torn with how I should approach this game. I want to approach it in a manner that suggests that this is a game with massive playoff implications. You feel like for Ole Miss it does. They've got one loss, but if they can beat LSU and get one more against a really good team, whether that's Georgia or Oklahoma, then they've got a great chance at 10-2 to get in. And I want to suggest that from the other side as well with LSU. And I feel like that's a possibility. I think LSU can beat Ole Miss. I think LSU can beat Arkansas. I think LSU can beat Texas A&M. I think LSU can beat Oklahoma. I think LSU can beat Alabama. I've talked about this a lot, but do we feel like this team and this defense are ready to rise to that occasion and win 6 of their last 7 games? The defense that played Nichols won't do it. The defense that played South Carolina won't do it. Maybe the defense that played against UCLA and South Alabama can do it, but we won't find out until the game on Saturday. There's a chance that LSU's defense gets annihilated on Saturday and they go on the road at Arkansas and they lose that game and they also lose at Texas A&M and Alabama beats them, and all of a sudden you're looking at a disaster season like that. That opportunity presents itself as well. I could talk myself into LSU being a 5-loss team. I could talk myself into LSU being a 10-2 team that makes the playoff. I can get either one. The fact is, we just won't know until it happens. And that's kind of the way that I have to approach this game, is with indecision. I would like to suggest that this is just a huge opportunity for LSU to move toward the playoff. But there may be more of LSU's recent history in terms of the last 20 years making that statement, as opposed to the team that's played and was given a real scare by a South Carolina team that might not be very good, was beaten by a Southern Cal team that has not looked good since then, was sleepwalking through the Nichols game. I could frame it either way, but truth be told, I'm probably on the fence. What I do know is that Saturday is going to be an awesome day. Leading up to kickoff, it's going to be fantastic. And Brian Kelly talked about the atmosphere going into this game.
I think what I'm excited and our players are excited about is an SEC game, right, in Tiger Stadium. I think the energy, the excitement, not that it wasn't exciting for the other games, but this is different, right? I think it all just kind of rises to a new level when it's an SEC opponent in Tiger Stadium. It just, it mixes differently, and we're excited about that.
I wrote a column for LouisianaSports.net this morning basically on that exact thing. I've been around here long enough now, and most of you have as well. If you're listening to this show, then you're probably right there in the camp with me. But I've been around long enough to know that not every game inside that stadium is the same. And when you listen to Scott Van Pelt and Ryan Russillo tell you that Tiger Stadium is the greatest place they've ever been to a sporting event, and you see the rankings in this magazine or that publication that says that Tiger Stadium at night is the toughest environment in sports, and Barstool says that or whatever, they are talking about when Alabama comes in here for a November night game. They are talking about that type of environment. They're not talking about when North Texas comes in September. Because we've all been in there for those games. I mean, I was there for the UCLA game 2 weeks ago, and it felt like the spring game. There was nothing about that was the most intimidating environment in all of sports. Now, it was 1,000 degrees, and I don't blame anybody that wasn't there. But it's just a reality. It's only great every once in a while. And last year with Jaden chasing the Heisman, the crowd was pretty good against Florida. The crowd was pretty good against Texas A&M because there was a Heisman on the line. But the best in that stadium comes out when there are team aspirations on the line. And at this point, there still are. Whether or not you think LSU is going to get to those is a different discussion. They're still available now because you've only got one loss. And so I expect, because you've got a really good opponent coming in at Ole Miss, LSU is in the top 10 in the coaches poll. Say what you will about their team. Your weather's going to be fine. I think the high is like 88 in tonight's game. And like I just said, the game's at night. You've got all the ingredients you need for that stadium to be awesome on Saturday. And before they kick it off, it will be awesome. Tailgating will be awesome. Pre-game will be awesome. And then you let it fly. And if LSU can stay in this game with Ole Miss, get a lead in this game with Ole Miss, the stadium will be absolutely on fire. And that is what I'm looking forward to, because I would suggest that it hasn't been an awesome environment inside Tiger Stadium like the one that I think you're going to see on Saturday since LSU beat Alabama 2 years ago. I don't think last year Auburn qualified for that. I don't think last year Texas A&M or Florida quite qualified for that. I think this will be incredible because LSU fans know how big a game this is for Ole Miss. If Ole Miss loses this game, just like they did against South Carolina, if they had lost that game, the most anticipated season in Ole Miss football in the last 25 years would be almost over. Like, that's what they're playing for. And LSU can deal that blow. And I think everybody in purple and gold would be well on board with that. It's going to be an incredible environment there, and I agree with Brian Kelly on that 100%. But now you get to the actual playing on the field, and you had an opportunity during this bye week to evaluate some things in practice. And Brian Kelly talked about wanting to evaluate the safeties, wanted to talk about evaluating some of the younger players without a game plan looming last week, and he spoke to evaluating that personnel during the open day.
You know, the first thing you do is an exhaustive self-scout, right? What are your tendencies? What tendencies do you need to break? And are there things there that you're doing really well that you want to build on, or not so well that you need to certainly work on in the bye week? Then it's the evaluation of, you know, the body of work through those first 5 weeks. You know, who are the guys that have built that trust that you can put on the field? So as you go into these 7 weeks of SEC opponents, those are the guys that you want on the field. So I think we've done both from a technical and tactical standpoint, the work necessary, and then from a personnel standpoint, who are the guys that we want to put on the field? That's been really a lot of the work this past week. You know, the first thing you do.
And we won't learn that until Saturday when they actually get on the field. I'll be certainly looking at what safeties are out there, certainly looking at what corners they want to play. You'll see what's available at wide receiver. But we won't have those answers until they actually get on the field on Saturday. What we do know is that LSU has played a little bit better defense the last couple of weeks than they did early, and they've certainly been better than they were last year. And this was the game last year where the defense just completely ripped at the seams. And you could not get a stop under any circumstance against this Ole Miss team. They scored just about every time they had the football. They put 55 on you, and your Heisman Trophy winner went up and down the field, scored nearly 50 points, and you couldn't win the game. And that was, I think, your first real. I mean, they weren't great against Florida State on defense, but it didn't look like a complete disaster. They had an interception. They got a couple of stops. They couldn't do anything in this game against Ole Miss last year. And Brian Kelly talked about, you know, remembering that and where he thinks this team has come in that year that has passed since Ole Miss went up and down the field for 55 points.
We were tilted one side, and we had to play, unfortunately, the game that way. I didn't like it, but that's what we had. And so we were in a situation last year where we were trying to outscore, and it's not the right way to play. It was the only way to play. I think there's much more balance in our football team, and we don't want to play that way. We want to play good defense. We want to keep the points down, and we want to score appropriately. So if you're asking the question relative to how it fits, each and every week, we don't want it to be a shootout. We want to play the appropriate level of defense that allows us to run our offense, that protects and plays complementary football.
This is the crux of this entire week. Are you any better than you were? We can't learn that against Lenoris Sellers and Robbie Ashford. We can't learn that against South Alabama. We can't draw the necessary conclusions from those games. LSU got out of them alive, and that's fine. This is where the rubber meets the road. You're either moving forward as a program and becoming the championship-type program that Brian Kelly came here to build, which means you're able to score points on this Ole Miss defense that's got a bunch of pros on it, and you can slow down, not stop, but slow down this offense at times on your field in front of your crowd with a week to prepare. You either can do that or you can't do that. If you can and you beat Ole Miss, okay, let's talk about 10-2. Let's talk about the playoff. If Ole Miss scores 48 points and beats you by 2 scores, you got a long way to go, brother. Long way to go. This is the measuring stick game. Not Arkansas, not Oklahoma. This one. Right now, right here. If LSU can go out there and win this game 31-21, you've got a team that can make a run. If you get dusted and you can't get a stop, then you haven't fixed the issues that honestly this game cropped up last year. I don't think Ole Miss is going to win the national championship this year. I think there are better teams than Ole Miss in the country. Breaking news, I know. But I think they're a playoff caliber team on most days, and you're measuring yourself with them. I hate that as an LSU alum and as an LSU fan that I'm having to think that way about Ole Miss. That should be the standard that LSU plays at. But let's just be honest. LSU's resume last year defensively was simply not good enough. And Ole Miss has been a better football program over the last 3 years than LSU. 3 years. That doesn't prove everything. But over the last 3 years, Ole Miss is better than you. It's time to rise up and make sure that's not the case anymore. We'll see on Saturday night in Death Valley, LSU and Ole Miss. We'll talk plenty about it as we move forward this week on the show. Denton Day is going to be with us in 15 minutes talking about some college football, but I got to give you my pick for Saints and Chiefs. We'll break that game down, give you my pick coming up next on The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Highland Insurance Group, HighlandIG.com is the website. Look, we understand that Milton is not a threat to the Louisiana Gulf Coast. Looks like it's headed right for Tampa. But what that does is it creates a ton of claims, and it can mess with the insurance marketplace. And that does affect you as a South Louisiana homeowner or business owner. If you're uncomfortable with the renewal process because there may be some significant changes in the insurance market with back-to-back hurricanes hitting near the same place, that puts a real hurt on some insurance carriers. You need to have a broker in your corner that's capable of navigating these waters and getting your renewal taken care of. Highland Insurance Group can do that. This is what I tell you all the time about the Highlands Insurance Group. They are an advocate for you and your business. You think of them the same way as you would think of your attorney. You would think of your CPA. You trust those people, even though they're outside of your organization at times, to understand the inner workings of what goes on so that when things go poorly, you can figure it out. The Highland Insurance Group can help you on the insurance side. They do your property and casualty. They can also handle group and employee benefits. If you're a business owner and don't quite understand just what your policies may say inside and out, get on the phone with the Highland Insurance Group or check them out online, HighlandIG.com. It's Jonathan Carver and his team right here in Baton Rouge, the Highland Insurance Group, HighlandIG.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products.
Chiefs tonight. Chiefs are 4-0. Saints 2-2. But the Chiefs have been playing some tight ones. Opened the season in that Thursday night game with the Baltimore Ravens. It was a 27-20 victory. We know that the Ravens caught the football and were just fractions of an inch out of bounds in the back of the end zone and what could have been a game-winning, potentially two-point conversion if they decided to go for two there. But they win that game 27-20 over the Ravens. Then a real tight one with the Bengals in Arrowhead, 26-25, the final. That was in Arrowhead against the Bengals. They went to Atlanta and barely got out alive in that game against Kirk Cousins and the Falcons. 22-17 was the final in that one. And then at the Chargers last week, a 17-10 win. You look at the point totals for this Chiefs team, 17 over the Chargers, 22 over the Falcons, 26 of the Bengals, 27 against the Ravens. It just has not been an explosive offense that we're used to with these Kansas City Chiefs. It's been ball control. It's been very much a dink and dunk passing game. We talked to Ross Jackson about that in the first hour. Patrick Mahomes has turned the ball over more than he usually does. You're looking at a Mahomes stat line at this point that includes 5 interceptions in 6 touchdowns in 4 games. It just hasn't been great. Now you add in the fact that Pacheco is out and that Rashee Rice is done for the year and Kelsey's been okay. But they're not as scary, in my opinion, as they have been. And I look at this Saints defense and I see a defensive line that has played well. I see a group of pass rushers that's been good. And I see a really good secondary that's been among the best in the NFL. And I love the Saints matchup on the outside in this game with Matthew Back and with Lattimore and with Alontae Taylor and Adebo. And I think that the Saints match up really, really well on the edges with this Kansas City team. How they handle Kelsey remains to be seen. How effective Kelsey will be remains to be seen. You know that obviously when Pacheco went down, Rashee Rice went down, Kelsey's output went up in their most recent game against the Chargers. He had 7 catches. He only had 8 in the first 3 games combined. So maybe they go to him a little bit more. I think the Saints are well aware that that's probably going to be a plan for Kansas City. They should have a plan for that. I don't know what the Saints linebacking core is going to look like in the game. Obviously, you're dealing with, over the last 2 weeks, injuries to Demario Davis, to Pete Werner, and to Willie Gay. There are issues there. And so we'll see what the Saints decide to do and whether or not that impacts how they handle Travis Kelce. But I still, as I break this down and I look at the Chiefs offense against the Saints defense, I see the Chiefs around 24 points in this game. I don't think they're going to score in the 30s or the 40s. The Saints defense is good and the Chiefs offense has not been that great. So in that way, I expect the Saints to stay in the game. The problem is I cannot sit here in good conscience and feel great about the Saints offensive line. You are moving pieces all over the place on this offensive line, including one from the Jets practice squad on Friday. So you bring McGovern in, and he's going to be your center. It looks like Saldiveri on one guard. I don't know what Lucas Patrick's availability is going to be, but you're playing musical chairs there, and your tackles are question marks, even though you like basically the way that they've played through 4 games. It's a question mark. And Chris Jones can wreck the entire game. He's that good. We saw Jalen Carter do it 2 weeks ago. Chris Jones is that type of dude. And the Saints have got to have a plan for him. I know that it involves running the ball. Well, they tried that against Philly and it didn't work. You couldn't run the ball at all, and therefore you weren't able to move it. Last week they did get the running game going, and they were able to move it, and they were able to score points. I thought the offense played well enough to win the game last week, and you got beat at the end. You had a tough break on the pass interference call, and certainly the defense played well enough to win in the game because you gave up a pick 6, and that's not on the defense there. So I think the Saints are going to stay in this game, but I'm concerned about their ability to score. And here's the undeniable truth that has been the calling card of these two organizations for 2 years. The Chiefs win games in the margins, and the Saints don't. The Saints' record in one-score games has been abysmal. Luke Johnson, who joins us every single Thursday, wrote a story for The Advocate. It's up on his Twitter @ByLukeJohnson, talking about the Saints' late game execution and their record in one-score games, and it's just putrid. Like, they did come out of the gate and blow out Carolina and Dallas, and that's awesome. But then you got into the games that you've got to find a way to win the last 2 weeks, and you couldn't do it. You found a way to lose. You found a way to lose last week. Give up 14 fluky points and get a pass interference call that allows a long field goal. That's finding a way to lose. And the Chiefs, as clunky as they've been, as injury-riddled as they've been, as aging as Travis Kelce is, they find a way to get it done against Baltimore, to get it done against Cincinnati. And that's why they're a championship-level organization, and the Saints have not been a championship-level organization in 5 years. So to me, I look at this game, I think that the Saints are going to try to be a little bit more creative and get the ball to the edges and get it away from Chris Jones. And I think that they'll stay in it. I expect the New Orleans to be in this game in the fourth quarter, but I'll take the Kansas City Chiefs to win a 24-17 game against New Orleans tonight on Monday Night Football. It would just be such a massive win if the Saints could get it and then come home for Tampa Bay. You could really flip the way things feel, and we know that they've already flipped twice. They flipped from kind of mediocre to wow, this team is awesome, and then they flipped back to they're the same old Saints. You can flip it back if you can play 2 more good weeks, and that's got to start tonight in one of the toughest places in the NFL to play. I'm hopeful that the Saints can get it done, but I don't know that I'm super optimistic that they will. Beck, you're looking at this game. We understand injuries are a big piece of it, and we understand that the Chiefs generally win and the Saints generally don't. But do you give them a shot tonight? Yeah,
I give them a shot, man. I mean, the NFL is just, NFL, college football, any league or conference that has a football involved in the game it's just been absurd this year. We've had so many crazy games, especially in the NFL. We saw the Giants beat a Seahawks team that we thought was pretty good. So, anything can happen, man. As they always say,
worst loss on the board on Thursday.
Yeah, it was.
Those have hit at an alarming rate.
It really has. Yeah, it's been kind of worrisome. But yeah, I give the Saints a chance. I understand. Everyone understands the injuries, and I think this is an instance where, as we talked about last week, where the Chiefs also just have some devastating injuries too that hurt them really, really badly. So, but I don't know, man.
The Saints' path to victory,
in
my estimation, is going. Well, it's going right. It has to feature 2 Mahomes turnovers.
Yeah, it does.
You've got to either Chase Young comes off the edge and he doesn't see him, and you get a strip sack, or you get a tip ball or one of the Mahomes interceptions that he's thrown for the first month of the season. If you can do that and create a couple short fields, or my goodness, get a pick 6 to make up for last week's, if you can do that, that's where. But if you play these guys straight up, I think you lose 8 out of 10 of them probably.
Yeah, most definitely. So yeah, if the defense and special teams play as well as they have all year, and well, I guess maybe not last week because the punt and everything, but that was tough. But overall though, the season, the defense and special teams have been really good. They're going to have to be really good in this game, and the offense is just going to have to do enough to maybe keep the Chiefs off the field a little bit more and limit their possessions.
We shall see. I'll tell you about where I'm watching the game coming up right now.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
LeBear's Baton Rouge. You got to make LeBear's Baton Rouge your game day headquarters this season. They've got the biggest screens around, and now you can bet and dine and wager at ESPN Bet in person. It's just an awesome place to watch the game. We'll be there. Matt Moscona is going to do after further review from ESPN Bet coming up in 30 minutes, and that'll lead us right up to pregame, and we'll be watching at ESPN Bet. So if you're in the area or want to come out and hang out, watch the game, we highly recommend that you do that. And I also tell you every day about the Cover 5 SEC contest. You got to go to the Cover 5 app, and you can pick 5 SEC games against the number, compete against me and over 100 other listeners here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. This week was a little bit better. Last week was a total embarrassment. This week was a little bit better, but not great still. So you can still compete against me and probably win. Got to use the promo code LABRSEC24 on the Cover 5 app. If you're not a member, get the Pin Play app today. LeBear's Baton Rouge, your live sports headquarters. Must be 21 years or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-589-9966 for help.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products.
Congratulations to Mark Mancuso from Bell Chase. Mark is the Week 6 winner in our 2024 Pick'em contest. He wins a Hooters wing party for 10 people. Don't forget to make your picks for round 7 by this Thursday at noon. Weekly winners will receive a Hooters wing party for 10, and the first place season-long champion will receive a 75-inch 4K flat screen TV and soundbar, plus free Hooters wings for an entire year. It's the 2024 College Football Pick'em presented by Hooters.
Talked at the end of the first hour about how disappointing Bengals' loss was on Sunday, settling for a long field goal. No such drama for the Washington Commanders and Jaden Daniels. 34-13, the final over a bad Browns team. But Washington continues to roll. They've won 4-0. Our resident Washington Commanders guy, Denton Day, also host of College Football Overtime on Sirius XM, here to talk some college football. But generally, we start things with some Commanders talk, and it's been all positive, Denton.
Yeah, it certainly has been. And I went to my first game as a fan this weekend in 17 years to see Jaden Daniels up close and personal. My fiance is also a Browns fan, so she had a little less fun than I did. But it was great to see him perform the way that he did. And I mean, this is a fan base that has been apathetic, to say the least, for a long time, and he has completely injected life into him. It's been a lot of fun.
Do you consider Washington a threat in the NFC now?
Yeah, definitely. I knew he was going to be good. You knew he was going to be good. I had no idea he was going to be this good this early. And because that's already happening and there's still room for him to grow, and we've seen him make adjustments already through the first 5 weeks that have led to growth, the sky is the limit right now. Defensively, they still have some issues, but if you have a quarterback in the NFL, you have a chance, and they got a quarterback. So I think they're a legitimate threat. They
absolutely do. They're at Baltimore this coming Sunday. That'll be an unbelievable matchup of two of the most athletic quarterbacks in the league. And then after that, it's Panthers, Bears, and Giants. So could be a little run here coming for Washington if they can find a way to go on the road and beat a very good Baltimore team. We'll see. Let's talk some college football, Denton. What was the result that caught your eye the most this week? And I've got a feeling I know where you're headed, but I'll give it to you open-ended.
I mean, it had to be Ole Miss over South Carolina, right? That's what everyone's talking about this weekend. No, it was this agent of chaos that is Diego Pavia taking down Alabama a week after they were up 28-0 and then ultimately beat Georgia. I mean, the duality of college football and that instance in particular is sensational this year. And we saw the first half, right? And we've seen this story so many times with, you have one good half, but the more talented team's going to come out in the second half. They're going to blow your doors off, and they're going to win by 8 points, 10 points, whatever. And Vanderbilt just never went away. And even when Alabama pushed back on them, they still just never went away. And a lot of the credit is because of Diego Pavia, but their team, obviously he's just one guy. Their team, their defense, everybody stepped up for Vanderbilt. They're kind of like this pesky thorn in the side. Are they going to make the college football playoff? No. But if you just care about SEC football, they are going to be such a pain in some teams' rear ends as you get to November and December when you have got to have it games and you have Vanderbilt on your schedule thinking, oh, great, here we go.
Yeah, that happens in Baton Rouge. Vanderbilt will come here the second to last week of the season. So that's speaking right to our audience here in the capital city. Anything that you would suggest that's an issue for the Alabama program, or just one of those Saturdays that you just hope never shows up?
I think it was just one of those Saturdays, right? I mean, they played so well against Georgia, and then that comeback, and it was a classic letdown spot. It just happened to be against a team where for years you never get let down playing Vanderbilt. They're the bottom of the barrel in the SEC. So in those letdown spots, we get Vanderbilt, we're going to whoop them by 30. Yep. But because this team is just built a little differently, I feel like it's just one of those Saturdays. Obviously, you want Jalen Milroe to be better. I mean, we had this conversation. He's in the Heisman conversation. I think he was plus 200 at most sports books entering the weekend in the Heisman conversation. Then he has a performance that was okay, but certainly wasn't great. You want more consistency from your quarterback, but I think it was really more than anything just one of those Saturdays that came at a bad time.
What are we supposed to make of Miami? they keep coming out alive, but it's not a work of art.
I don't know. I wish I could give you a better answer. I really like Cam Ward, but I really don't trust Mario Cristobal, and I think that's their issue, right? Because their quarterback is good. But you look at their coaching staff, and it's just kind of a shoulder shrug of, I don't trust you guys in big moments. And like that Cal, I don't know if I would call Cal as like a tough environment to play. Not in 2024, at least. Maybe back in the 80s, sure, but I don't think that was like a tough environment to play in, and they came out exceptionally flat. Like maybe because you're going across the country, like it's this weird thing, right? Like they're going to suffer because of this new revamped ACC, but at a certain point, like you need to be able to overcome that if you're going to win a national championship or at least be in that conversation. And ultimately they did, but if you're playing a better team and you're down the amount that they were down, you're not coming back in those situations. So I'm a little worried about them. I don't really know who the best team in college football is right now. I think it's Texas, but I haven't had that confirmed, and certainly not if Quinn Ewers is around. But Miami, I don't think they're in that conversation right now. I thought they were 2 weeks ago, but I've changed my tone up a little bit with them.
I'll tell you who's not the best team in college football. That's the USC Trojans, who went to Minnesota and got beat 24-17. Should that send some concerns Baton Rouge way that USC's looked that poor the last couple of weeks?
Maybe a little bit, but I think USC is now coming into the reality that you have to be physical every single week. I feel like it's really easy to like get up to be physical one week, but then when you have to consistently do it, all of a sudden the enthusiasm goes away a little bit. And I think that's kind of what USC is running into right now. It was really easy to get amped up to play LSU on Sunday night when you're the only game on television. You are the main event. Like, that's an easy thing to get excited for. It's a lot more difficult to get excited to go play Minnesota in the first weekend of October. I think that's what we're seeing here. They have some things going in the right direction, but it's not easy to jump from one conference to another conference where the play style is so drastically different. That, I think, is what we're seeing with USC right now. So I don't think LSU should be worried about how bad they're playing, although you do want them to start playing better. So when you get to the point where we start looking at quality wins and schedules and all these things in November and December, that loss looks better than it could potentially look if USC really starts dropping a ton.
Arkansas 19, Tennessee 14 in Fayetteville. That's not a good enough offensive showing for Josh Heupel's crew. How shocking was that?
I was surprised because I thought Nico I was good. And it's that was a result on where, like, if you ever, taking pictures, right, shot with a camera, and you have the manual focus on, where all it takes is just a little twisting and turning and a blurry picture becomes super focused. Well, I felt like the first couple of weeks, now looking back at it for Tennessee, were rather blurry. And then you shift it just a little bit and say, well, go win a game if you're Nico I. You're this upstart quarterback. Everybody loves you. Go win a game. And he had an opportunity to go win a game, and I was really disappointed with that final play. I mean, I didn't know you could, strike out looking in football, but on a fourth down and your quarterback runs it for 3 yards, like, guy, you got to throw that into the end zone. I don't care if you throw it at 12 dudes in there. You have to throw that into the end zone. That was incredibly disappointing. Hopefully a learning moment, but I mean, yuck.
I blew a gasket in my first hour on that. We were talking about the SEC games. I can't listen and say, well, it's his first year starting or it's only the second year. You learn that when you're 10. There's no more time left and you're losing by 4 points. You have to try to score. You don't get any points for running out of bounds. That was just shocking to me that he did that. Speaking of shocking, I don't know if shocking is the right word, but SMU is now 5-1, and the only ranked team they have left on the schedule is a home game against Pitt. Is this a team that could be a playoff team?
In an ACC that is very, very weird, absolutely. Depending on how you feel about Miami, which you and I don't seem to feel exceptionally great about them, somebody has to get in from the ACC. Like, we will get one of those teams in there. So considering, I mean, maybe Clemson has, gotten better. I don't know how much I still trust Cade Klubnik, beating Florida State. Okay, like with DJU, without DJU, they don't have a quarterback, so that's not all that impressive. I think SMU they're a fun team. I think there is a real potential, especially considering they don't have to play Clemson on that schedule. So if you're getting them for the first time in the ACC championship, all you got to do is go out there and beat them once. I think there is some real potential that SMU, who I'm sure feels like they got screwed last year by Liberty getting in. I loved it personally as a Liberty grad, but I'm sure they didn't love it that much. I bet they're playing with a chip on their shoulder here. So they've been a fun team to watch. And that game against Louisville, outside of all the crazy, upsets that really, really matter, but that was a fun game in that early window.
Ohio State at Oregon, number 2 against number 3. My opinion is that the winner is in the playoff. They're not going to fall flat after this win and being 6-0. So I think there's a playoff spot that'll be locked up in that game. Ohio State's a 3.5-point road favorite. Who do you like?
I like Ohio State. I would love to pick Oregon in this one, but I got burned 2 times last year with Oregon and Washington. Somehow I was dumb enough to take them twice, and it failed drastically. And I just have not loved what I've seen from Oregon in terms of execution. Now, with Ohio State, they really haven't played anybody that gives you a true litmus test as to what they are. I mean, they beat Iowa really, really impressively, but at the same time, Iowa's offense is so bad that even if their defense is awesome, eventually, if they can't score, the defense is going to crack and break. So I don't really know what Ohio State is, but I at least have been more impressed with the way they have played offensively than I have been with Oregon so far this year. I need Dylan Gabriel to play really, really well, because the start of his game this past weekend on Friday night against Michigan State was abysmal. I need him to play really, really well to justify them going out and getting him. Oregon has a lot of pressure, but I like Ohio State in this one.
Classic SEC football in the Red River rivalry coming up on Saturday. Texas and Oklahoma. You give the Sooners any shot? They're 2 touchdown dogs.
No, not at all. Especially considering that Quinn Ewers should be back by then. I mean, Arch Manning is a fun story. If Quinn Ewers is healthy, Texas is definitively the best team in college football. I just need to see that. I just need to see him healthy. But if he's healthy, I mean, Oklahoma does not have a quarterback. Their defense is strong, kind of similar to like what I just said about Iowa. Their defense is really good. I mean, their offense is better than Iowa's offense because your local high school team's offense is better than Iowa's offense. But I don't give Oklahoma much of a shot here. There's something about this Texas team. They're really, really good. And if Quinn Ewers is healthy, I mean, good luck to the Sooners.
All right, and then right here in Baton Rouge, Ole Miss comes to town. They're 2.5-point favorites in Tiger Stadium. It'll be a night kickoff at 6:30. Give LSU a shot in that one?
I definitely do, especially considering the way that Ole Miss played against Kentucky 2 weeks ago. I know they got right against South Carolina, but I think that game against Kentucky really humanized them in a sense. Jackson Dart had his name in the conversation with that Joe Burrow 2019 year. He was on the graphic with that Mac Jones year, and then you play a team that's in your conference and you look like an absolute shell of yourself. So I give LSU a real good opportunity. They just they got to play better on defense, because that Lane Kiffin is going to be throwing the ball around the yard, so their guys got to cover on the outside.
Tigers and Rebels, 6:30 coming up on Saturday. After it's all final college football overtime, Sirius XM Radio Denton Day every single Saturday, and he's with us every Monday. Thanks, man.
Hunt, appreciate it as always.
All right, we'll take one more time out, come back and close out the Monday edition of The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, nearly 4 decades redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. You got one of those big, huge jacuzzi-style tubs, but you don't ever really use it. That space is an awesome spot for a walk-in shower. Go ahead and take that tub out, put the shower in. Another thing that David Duvall and his team do a lot of is if you got one of those small showers, small little square, they make that a closet when you go ahead and put that shower where that bathtub was. So those are the kind of things that can add some value to your home. They can change the functionality of your bathroom, change the aesthetic of your bathroom as well. Spend a lot of time in there. You might as well class it up a little bit. One Bath and Closets is happy to help you do that. It starts with a free consultation with David Duvall and his team. Sit down, explain what you're looking for, and they tell you what they can do. And if you're concerned about payment, financing options are very much available for 18 months at One Bath and Closets, 0%. You got to ask them about it. Get that consultation with David Duvall and his team. Tell them the Hunt Palmer Show sent you over there to OneBathAndClosets.com. It's One Bath and Closets, OneBathAndClosets.com.
This is The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products.
104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and Shell are excited to celebrate the 100th anniversary of Tiger Stadium with our Draw to 100 sweepstakes. We're giving you the opportunity to join the VIP-style celebrations this weekend, October 12th, for the Ole Miss game. Sign up today at 1045ESPN.com. We'll live stream the drawing on October 10th. That is this Thursday, and the 100th name drawn will win Stadium Club seats, sideline passes, and autographed memorabilia. It's the Draw to 100 sweepstakes presented by Shell, the rhythm of Louisiana.
All right, closing up shop here, Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, presented by Gulf Coast Office Products. Shout out to our guy Trey Beal and the folks at Gulf Coast Office Products. No matter what industry you're in, no matter what vertical market you are in professionally, Trey Beal's got clients that do the same thing, and he understands the needs of your specific industry when it comes to printing, scanning, and copying. So if you haven't given any thought to why you have the printers, scanners, and copiers that you have, maybe call Trey Beal and see if that's the best situation for you. They've got an incredible group of people over there. Got so many resources, over $1 million of machines here in Baton Rouge, and wherever you are in the state of Louisiana, they can help service your needs from a printing, scanning, and copying perspective. If you've got an issue and there's one that's down, you got to get back up. They understand time of year, busy seasons, and they can have one delivered to you that day. Awesome customer service over there at Gulf Coast Office Products. Check them out online, gcopnet.com, gcopnet.com. I'm fired up for this week, y'all. It's going to be a fun one. I know I talked about it at the top of the show, how this is going to be a big week for LSU as far as a proving ground. Are you ready to play with some of the big boys in the SEC, or is your defense still inept? And that's kind of what we're going to find out. We'll be talking about it certainly all week long. Brian Kelly met with the media today. We'll have LSU player interviews tomorrow after practice. SEC teleconference coming up Wednesday. Brian Kelly will have his last availability on Thursday, and we'll be covering it right here for you on the Hunt Palmer Show and certainly over on LouisianaSports.net as well. Talking about the Saints. We'll be out at LeBear's tonight. Matt's about to do his show from LeBear's inside the ESPN Bet Sportsbook, and it should be a really fun time. So if you're just knocking off of work and you're looking for somewhere to watch the black and gold tonight, come on out and see us at LeBear's inside ESPN Bet. It's going to be a heck of a time. All right, Beck, let's play some Take It or Leave It.
All righty, first one here. Cleveland Browns, as we talked about earlier, they obviously lost to the Commanders. They got dominated 34-13. They're not good. The $230 million man, Deshaun Watson, was and has been pretty below average. He hasn't thrown for more than 200 yards in a game. And is tied for the lowest average yards per pass attempt and has been sacked 26 times. Jameis time in Cleveland. Take it or leave it.
I don't like your options, Cleveland. Deshaun not playing great. Jameis, I don't know if I want to trust him with the keys to the franchise. I think you're just going to be terrible. You're going to lose a lot of games. The question really becomes not whether or not Jameis becomes the quarterback, because no one really cares what's going on with the Browns. The question is, are they going to cut Deshaun Watson and take the biggest dead money hit in the history of professional sports?
Well,
that is the question.
It is, and I think it's kind of crazy to think this, but are they hoping that this latest accusation that came against him is going to give him maybe some pause to
I don't know what the contract says.
I don't know.
It's not good.
No, it's not. It's probably, I think it's already safe to say, the worst contract in sports history.
They needed, because everyone's aware of the bad PR situation that it created, but it had to work out where he played great and everybody just swallowed their pride and said, okay, it's fine. Did I love Aroldis Chapman before he came to the Cubs? No. Did I love the fact that he took a gun and shot everything up in the garage when his girlfriend was there? Not my favorite thing, but hey, he puts on the pinstripes and we're pitching in Game 7. I got to have some outs, so let's get it done. You just kind of turn a blind eye, but when it goes this badly, it's bad for everybody involved, and the Browns are in big trouble.
Yeah, they are, and that's a dodge bullet for the Saints, because apparently they were interested, I think, in Deshaun Watson. So probably a good thing they didn't get involved in those sweepstakes. But next one here, LeBron and Bronny shared the court for the first time last night. A losing effort. The Lakers lost to the Suns 118-114. Bronny was 0 for 1 with 4 turnovers and 3 fouls in 13 minutes.
Oh, my gosh.
He also played in their game.
Is that real?
It is. He also played in their last game against the Timberwolves. So this was on last weekend. And he played 16 minutes, was 1 for 6 with 3. He actually had 3 blocks. That's interesting. But 1 for 6 with 1 turnover, 2 points in that game. So the farce continues. Take it or leave it.
Take it. It is completely a farce. And I shouldn't care as much about this as I maybe do. I mean, I clearly don't care that much because I didn't even know they played last night. I was watching baseball. But it's such a ridiculous situation. And everyone is aware of how ridiculous it is.
Yep.
And it just continues. I'm curious to see if they put him out on the floor in an actual NBA game. I can't imagine that they will do that, but
they have to. They have to at least once. I don't know if they're.
Well, of course he'll play at some point, literally. But is he going to be out there in the third quarter of their second game?
That's the question.
That is my question. It should not happen. Baseball's been awesome. The playoff baseball's been so good. I love it. I miss the agony that goes with it when the Cubs are in, or I'm watching LSU. But just being an interested observer from the outside and watching the way these Mets games have gone, it's just been incredible. The AL takes center stage today, so we'll see how all of that goes from a baseball perspective. That's it for us today on a Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. If you missed any of it, catch it on demand, 1045ESPN.com's on-demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, wherever you find your sound, you can certainly find us. Search Hunt Palmer Show. Like, subscribe, rate, review. We always appreciate that. Open the show today talking about the craziness in the Southeastern Conference and my reaction to all of that. Ross Jackson was with us at 1:30, getting you ready for Saints and Chiefs. Ross is on site there, obviously with Locked On, as well as LouisianaSports.net. Hour number 2, we had some Brian Kelly audio. I gave my Saints pick. I like the Chiefs tonight by a score. And then Denton Day, I was with us talking some college football. I'll tell you this, you were 5 minutes away from Matt probably talking about what happened in Nashville over the weekend. I would stick around for that. We'll be at LaBerge tonight, back here, same time, same place tomorrow. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.